Hello, my name's Nat. Let's see what's making news. Record-breaking temperatures have been scorching Europe this week, and now some communities have been getting creative to cope with the heat. Here's Thomas.
That's right, Nat. This heat wave has been a challenging one for people across Europe. Several countries are reporting their hottest days on record for this time of year, with temperatures in some areas over 46 degrees. Red alerts have been declared in many cities across the continent, and the high temperatures have triggered forest fires and forced nuclear power stations to shut down. Many people have been taken to hospital, and at least 8 people have died.
Heat is a serious issue. It is a health risk, and heat kills people.
Summer heat waves aren't unusual, but experts say this one's unique because of how early in the season it is. It's been brought on by unusually high temperatures in the Mediterranean Sea and something called a heat dome.
The heat dome's almost acting like the lid in a pot, and it's trapping that hot air underneath it.
And due to climate change, events like this are expected to be more common. So how have Europeans been coping with the heat?
See it right here, it's the ice cream. We get gelato every day.
Got my big rim hat, got my sunblock on my face. I'm bored, so I got to cover my head.
You don't get to see the sun very often in England. It is nice when the sun does finally come out.
Some animals are also making the most of it, being treated with ice, and more ice. That's how I get out of bed in the morning. So although it's a difficult time for many, it's times like these we see people come together, help each other out, get creative, and have some fun. Oi, watch out.
It's been a lot colder, windier and wetter on the east coast of Australia, but now the wild weather seems to be clearing up. Days of intense rain caused one of Sydney's main water supply dams to spill overnight, and many homes were flooded. Several flights up and down the east coast were also cancelled this morning because of strong winds. While there are still some warnings in place for flooding and coastal erosion in northern New South Wales, authorities say the worst of the weather is over and the huge cleanup effort is underway. The Dalai Lama, who's the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism, has come out and said he will have a successor after his death. But not everyone agrees on who that should be. Here's Justina to explain.
I am affirming that the institution of the Dalai Lama will continue.
Yep, the Dalai Lama, known as the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhists, says he plans to reincarnate and will have a successor after his death. So what does that mean exactly?
Well, according to Tibetan tradition, it's believed that each Dalai Lama is a reincarnation of the previous one. That means when he dies, his soul enters a newborn who will grow up to take his place.
The Dalai Lama says only his inner circle can choose his successor, but China doesn't agree and says the next Dalai Lama must be chosen by China. Why? Well, since China took over Tibet in 1951, they've had tight control over the region. And because the Dalai Lama is pretty popular and often speaks up about protecting Tibetan culture and freedom, some see it as China wanting to control who becomes the next Dalai Lama to strengthen its power over Tibet. But the Dalai Lama has made it clear
no one else has any such authority to interfere in this matter.
And says his next successor will be born in a free country, might be an adult, and not necessarily male. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Now it's time to get a bit patriotic, because these next stories are all about Aussie legends in the making. Whoa, speaking of. First up to Henry from the Gold Coast, who at 101 years old still plays tennis several times a week.
There's no excuse for not playing.
A couple of years ago, he even played at the Australian Open.
It's the kind of thing that's engraved in your memory for life, and I've done it.
This weekend, he'll be bringing his A-game to the Queensland Seniors Championships. Now to an iconic Aussie children's TV character. If you don't recognise him, don't worry. He was on telly a little before your time, from 1959 to 1999. The original puppet for Mr. Squiggle is going on display at a new free exhibition at the National Museum in Canberra. And finally to Brisbane, where a group of dads have taken up the sport of curling.
Thinking about, what's the fun thing to do together, what's something interesting, I brought up curling.
They quickly realised they had potential, taking out local and national competitions. Now their eyes are set on the Olympics.
And I think in 4 years' time in France, we're going to give it a red hot shake.
That's all we've got time for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Maybe call someone about that.